Good evening and welcome to the Development Management Committee. I am Councillor Peter Gregg, the Chairman of the committee. Before we start the meeting, I need to make the public attending aware of the following. We are not expecting a fire drill, so if their fire alarm goes off, please make your way out of the nearest emergency exit and gather at the front of Runnymede Hall. Meetings of the committee are webcast and broadcast on the internet. If you are seated in the public area of the council chamber, it is possible that your image will become part of the broadcast. May I ask the Development Management Committee members present who are seated in the chamber in the front row of me to introduce themselves, stating your name only, starting on my left. Would you like to start, please, Councillor Taylor?
Alan Taylor.
Councillor Anderson.
Councillor Alan Aycott.
Councillor Kieran Balker.
Councillor Hannah Barton-Brown.
Good evening, Councillor Chas Mumford.
Councillor Tom Skip.
Councillor Jackie Thornton.
Councillor Simon Hart.
May I also ask other members present and the Canvey Island Town Council representatives to introduce themselves?
Steve Sates, Canvey Island Town Council.
Councillor Elaine Harvey.
Councillor Thornton, Councillor Dick, would you just like to introduce yourself?
Good evening, Councillor Andrew Thornton.
Councillor Michael Dixon.
Okay. The first item on the agenda is items... Oh, sorry. May I ask the officers present to introduce themselves again, starting on my left?
Stephen Garner, Planning Manager.
Keith Zammit, Planning Officer.
Sophie Adams, Senior Planning Officer.
Cheryl Salmon, and I'll be taking the minutes this evening. And to my right is my colleague Loretta Hill, who's just observing this evening.
Jason Bishop, Solicitor to the Council and Legal Advisor to this committee.
Okay. Item 1, apologies. Are there any apologies for the absence?
Chairman, I have received no apologies. It's a full house this evening.
Item 2, are there any members' interests?
I'd like to declare that I have met with Mr and Mrs Gray previously in my role as portfolio holder for business when we were discussing the seafront and the business regeneration after COVID.
Thank you. Are there any more interests? Thank you. Item 3, minutes. Are the minutes for the Development Management Committee meeting held on the 5th of July 2022 agreed? Agreed. Item 4, public speakers. We have the following public speakers this evening. Mr Gray, the applicant for agenda item 5.1. Item 5, deposited plans. Item 1, Jimmy Max Easton, Esplanade, Canvey Island. I will now hand over to the planning officer to present this item.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Right. So we're looking at Jimmy Max, which is on the corner opposite the Monaco and next to the bandstand. This is the premises' current setup. So they've got some indoor seating, they've got a small serving hatch at the moment, I believe, a patio and some outdoor tables and chairs. This is how the site's currently laid out. So the Monaco is here, there's the bandstand, the existing building is here, outdoor seating here, there's a small storage, fenced off storage area here, and the bins are over on this dark blue spot here. This diagonally hatched area to the south of the building and next to the sea wall is the main focus of tonight's application. The applicant's been granted a lease from the council to use this land. So all the lands, the buildings owned by the Borough Council. And this is a view from the sea wall. So what looks like a concrete path going along here is actually the tow drain of the sea wall. This area with the trees and the grass is where the applicant's just been granted a lease recently, and that's the outdoor seating we saw beforehand. That's the same area. Right, onto the actual proposal. Now, this is a view looking down on how the site is at the moment. There's the outdoor seating, there's the building. This is an area that's just grass with some trees. The road is here. What the proprietors are looking to do is expand their paving and outdoor seating southwards. So this area, which was just grass next to the seawall, that's proposed to be paved, block paving, and the outdoor seating would be expanded. These trees here, we've now managed to get it confirmed from the applicant that they'll be able to be retained, which is something that we were worried about to begin with. As well as doing this external work, the small fenced area would be taken down and a new extension erected on the bandstand side of the building. Now, that extension would have toilets in, which means they can jiggle things around inside the building a little bit more. They can put a new bar, sort of with a new hatch opening out onto the seating area that they want to have by the sea wall. And the small changes to the bin area. Let's see if we can get you a view of before and after. We have got elevation drawings, but I felt the 3D view showed it a bit better. So the top is looking down from the sea wall, how it is now. This is the timber storage area. Again, this is a sort of bin area they've got over by the bandstand. And there are the trees that I referred to earlier. Underneath, this is their proposal. So the expanded outdoor seating would be here. What you can see along the base of the sea wall, these are actually movable screens they're showing. So there was, I think, a concern that the wind and breezes and things can adversely affect the outdoor seating. So these are not permanent structures, but they're something that can be put there as and when required. You can see the bandstand over there is pretty much unaffected. If you viewed the plans when they first arrived at the council, you might remember seeing something about a play area being proposed. The Environment Agency told us that that would cause them a problem with access to the sea wall for maintenance and that kind of thing. So the applicant agreed to take the play area off the plans, and as a result of that, the Environment Agency have now said there's no problems with access to their flood defences. And that's what the supplementary agenda item on this case is, just saying the Environment Agency have now got no objection. So, just to quickly run over that again for you, because there was quite a bit there. The building is to have a small single-storey extension erected on the bandstand side, new hatch at the back, external storage taken down here, paving to be laid to the south of the building next to the sea wall, retention of the trees. That's pretty much all I think I've got to say to you. It's recommended for approval, and I'm happy to open up to any questions, Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Gray, would you like to make your statement, please? Just before you start, Mr. Gray, you've got 3 minutes.
Good evening, everybody. And firstly, let me thank you all for taking the time to listen to me tonight. Thank you to committee and the members as well. My name's Derek Gray. I am the Director of Monaco Leisure. And obviously I'm hoping that just a few bullet points tonight might, you know, obviously convince you that, you know, this is a good thing for Castle Point, really. So I'm just going to go over a few little bits and make it short and sweet, because obviously we know that I'm on a time limit. Gentleman there has already explained to us that we're already entered into a 15-year lease with Castle Point Council, which obviously we're grateful for. And the area itself, over the last 2 years, because obviously COVID and everything was delayed, has proven very successful, and I think some of you are probably aware of that. You know, for day trippers, community, you know, it's been a vocal point, and I think everybody, you know, as far as I'm aware, have really quite enjoyed the area. So putting this proposal in is, in our opinion, it'll only enhance the area of our seafront, which is becoming, you know, with all the volunteer work and, you know, the input that most people are doing now, that, you know, it's a growing area and it's becoming an asset, you know, to the borough. So, you know, for me, that's a good thing, you know. And regarding the toilets, you know, there is more toilets going into there. Toilets have been an issue, and, you know, I do realise that one of the officers not so long ago, you know, was touting, you know, £200 everywhere for us to get involved in a toilet scheme with Castle Point, but we refused that because we've never refused anybody to go to the toilet, you know, and we didn't see the point of it. If somebody needed to go to the toilet, of course you can, you know. So in this way, that will take some, you know, of, you know, the overspill of people needing to go to the toilet. So I think that's a plus as well. By doing this is, I personally think it's, you know, what we've done so far down there, and I don't know if anybody's aware of it, it's been a fantastic time for most people down there. They've really enjoyed it. It's really brought back the community and the community spirit. So it's got loads of benefits for us all. Number one, it creates more jobs locally for younger people. If we want to look at it on a business level, I think a lot of other businesses have benefited from what's already going on at Jimmy Mac's, including probably your own car park, if the truth be known. So I think really and truthfully, if you can forgive me for being so brash, really what we're really talking about today is a patio. And I hope you see favour for it. So I'd like your support, and thank you very much for listening. Thank you. Any questions?
They're not allowed to ask questions.
No, not at the moment. As this application is on Canvey Island, would the Canvey Island Town Council representatives like to say anything?
Yeah, we've got
Microphone.
Sorry.
Oh, no comment. Sorry.
Yeah, the town council, we haven't had a meeting on this, so we've got no comment.
Okay, thank you. Before I move the recommendation, do members have any questions to the planning officer about the planning application? But please note, this is members' opportunity to seek clarification from the planning officer on any matters they are unclear of regarding the application. Members should refrain from making statements about their views on the proposal, as these should be expressed in the debate section of the meeting. Are there any questions? Councillor Hart.
Thank you, Chairman. On the first drawing, you've got the land that's been leased to the owners of Jimmy Mac's. The bit on the right-hand side, as I look at it, that bit there. I'm a bit confused why that's been allocated. I know it's not in the. It's part of their actual application, but it's not a part of the improvements. My only concern now that the Environment Agency have withdrawn theirs is why that was included, because it does affect the openness of the bandstand to the sea wall. I know there's no plans for it to be anything to go on there at the moment. I just want to know why it was done that way, why it wasn't just a rectangle rather than being the funny pattern it is now.
Please.
Thanks, Chairman. Thank you for the question. The applicant was given the lease in October 2021, and this was the area that they were given because they thought they were going to do a play area here. And then they've put in for planning, and we've said, please take the play area out. So, but the lease hasn't been amended. So that's why they've still got a lease on that. I don't know, maybe, like, can Jason maybe add anything about the lease?
Well, what's contained in the lease and what the council has agreed isn't really anything to do with this committee. This is irrelevant to the planning application.
Yeah.
So therefore, the planning application, they'd be granted just to build where they want to. If they wanted to build anything else on there, they would have to come back with a separate application. Is that correct?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, that's right. They'd have to come in for planning permission if they want to do something more than what's being presented to you this evening.
That's fine, thank you.
Councillor Anderson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Obviously, the summing up, I want to say a few things, but at the moment, my only question is, I want to see this being a success, and that corner across from the Monaco has been badly flooded over the years. There's been street flooding, surface flooding. My only question is, has that been looked at? Is there an investigation by the planning officer that there's adequate drainage in that area? Thank you.
Okay, yep.
Thanks, Chairman. Thank you, Councillor Anderson. That's something that I was a bit concerned about too, actually, because yes, it does. The highway there does flood after heavy rain. The tow drain of the sea wall that's here is not suitable to take all the runoff water. So what we did was ask the applicant to come up with a sustainable drainage solution. So the new paving that they want to put in this area here, and the existing paving that's already there, the applicant has agreed to collect the surface water and then release that at an attenuated rate into the surface water sewer that crosses the site. So there would not be additional runoff created either onto the highway or into the tow drain of the sea wall, which isn't suitable for it. So I would say that it shouldn't make the existing problem any worse. It may even offer a slight improvement because I'm not quite sure what happens to the water that falls on the paving that's there now, but the applicants agreed to bring it all in together and just have one drainage scheme for the entire site. So at best, it should be an improvement, and at worst, it should be neutral.
Thanks for that. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Councillor Skip?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I'd like to ask you, the officer by yourself, you mentioned about the tow drain being inadequate to deal with the any offlow from the site. As we now replacing some of the grass area with block paving, has that been taken into account in the new drainage plan for the whole site or not?
Thank you. Yes, sorry if it wasn't clear enough. This area here is paved already, and this area here is the proposal. And what the applicant has said is they will take the runoff water from the proposed area and the existing area, and they will drain that all via a sustainable drainage system into the surface water sewer. So we're not 100% sure what happens to the runoff water from here at the moment, but if this proposal is approved, then the water from the existing area and the proposed hard surfacing would all go into the same place. So that's how I sort of come to the conclusion that it might actually improve the existing situation.
Councillor Hart?
Thank you, Chairman. So I forgot to ask earlier. I had concerns over the trees as well, as Keith said in the first opening statement. Who who planted the trees? Was it the council who planted them in the past? And I know that the applicant has said they want to retain them, but is there any means of guaranteeing they would be retained?
Thank you, Councillor Hart. I'm not sure who planted the trees. They're on council-owned land. I don't know if maybe Jason will jump in a minute and tell me something. But yeah, they're trees that are on council land. The council currently looks after them. And if they are, well, one of them is outside the lease. The three that are in the lease area, I'm guessing that the applicant is going to take on responsibility for those. I don't know if Jason, can you help me on that one at all? Or?
I'm sorry, I don't know who planted the trees, but as it's on it's obviously all part of the lease, and they've agreed to keep them, so they'll be responsible for maintaining them.
I only ask because they're specialist trees, and they make up the appearance of the seafront, which is like most seafronts do. They put them kind of trees in, so I think it's important that they are retained as strong as possible.
Yeah, they're going to be kept in proper tree pits. I mean, I think I'm quite confident that the trees should survive in the long term. They're established palms, so they shouldn't need watering or anything like that. So hopefully that's enough to persuade you.
My concern was if the applicant decides that they can get 2 more tables in there later on, they decide they want to take them out. That was my only concern. If there's no planning statement say they must retain them, then obviously they could remove them without planning permission, couldn't they?
Well, if I may, Chairman, there's a little quirk which I haven't really mentioned. This is an outline application, believe it or not, but they've given us everything except the landscaping to consider. Now, because landscaping would be a reserved matter, that means, if outline permission is granted, you would then have landscaping details approved, and the trees are going to be approved as retained. So if they then decide to do something different, they've got to come back to the council again. So if you were to, approve the application, I would like you to feel you've got certainty the trees will remain there.
Councillor Thornton.
Thank you. From your last statement, I'm assuming then that there would be no need to put a condition on that at this stage, or it's not applicable to put a condition about the applicant sort of maintaining the trees at this stage. It will come later. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. Landscaping is a reserved matter. So the landscaping proposals are indicative, as you might say. But, as officers, we've made it quite clear that we'd like the trees to be kept, please.
I'm sorry, Councillor Dixon, only members of the committee can actually ask questions. Are there any further questions? No? Okay. The planning officer's recommendation is for approval, subject to the conditions set out in the report. For the purpose of debate, I move the recommendation. Who would like to speak first? Sorry, Councillor Mumford.
Thank you, Chairman.
Sorry.
Thank you, Chairman. Look, I'm fully supportive of this proposal. I think it's very indicative and very encouraging to see local businesses coming up with these ideas. This area, I think, is one that is increasingly becoming popular, and so long as the conditions that we would discuss are in place, and I think it should get our support. I went down there, I think it was Bank Holiday Monday, there was a band playing, all the cliff top there was absolutely packed with families. It was a great atmosphere, nice sunny day, and I think this can only do Canvey Island and Castle Point proud in its endeavour to become a focal point for tourism and entertainment. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Mumford. Councillor Boker.
Just to echo what Councillor Mumford said, it's an asset now, and I think that we're enhancing an asset. I'd be very, very happy to support this.
Thank you very much, Councillor Boker. Councillor Aycott.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I completely support the idea. The only thing I was wondering, last Sunday, the Canvey Island Rotary Club, I believe,
use the bandstand there for an event. I was wondering whether that clashes with the things which Jimmy Mack is doing. Has there been any arrangement that the bandstand can give way to Jimmy Mack's or vice versa?
I'm afraid that's out of the remit of this planning committee.
Well, thank you then, Chairman.
Councillor Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What a terrific idea that these business people are going to put this in place. As has already been said, that area, Jimmy Mack's, was absolutely packed out going back a couple of weeks ago. It looks good. It'll be terrific to maintain the trees. That keeps the area looking good, and it's just wonderful to see a business at this time investing in a business for residents and being biased. I've got to say it, and investigating for a business for Canvey Island people, and that's really making that area look good. So I'm certainly all for it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Anderson. Does anybody else? Councillor Hart.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. I've asked my questions earlier and I've got satisfactory answers, so I'm, like everyone else, very happy with this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else wish to speak? No? Right, thank you very much. Members, the motion before you is for approval. Sorry? Oh, did you stick your hand up? I'm sorry.
I didn't see. Sorry.
Could you stick it up a bit higher next time? Now I can see it.
Yeah, I'd just like to endorse what everybody has said. It's an asset for the area. I know that they've got aspirations to sort of build it up. I've spoken to a lot of the businesses down there, and it can only be an asset. So it has my full support.
Thank you very much, Councillor Thornton. Right, let's try again. Members, the motion before you is for approval. May I have a show of hands, please, for the motion?
Those for the motion.
This is for the motion.
Okay.
You're all in favour?
Yeah. Do you want to just count just to make sure? Did you want to vote?
Oh, I can vote if you like.
Whatever you want to. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's unanimous.
Shall I put both hands up?
No, that's unanimous 4, Chairman. So we don't need to take that.
Those against the motion?
It's none. Shouldn't be. It's unanimous.
No, that's good. Yeah.
And no abstentions.
And I take it there's no abstentions on that one either.
It's approved.
Okay, the application is approved. Thank you all very much. That was easy. All right. Let's try this one. Item number 2. Oh, wait till they've gone out. Okay. Land rear of 316 to 320 High Road at Benfleet. I will now hand over to the planning officer to present this item.
Thank you, Chairman. So I'm presenting item number 2. This is a proposal to demolish the existing commercial units on the site and to replace with a block of 7 flats. That's 1 one-bedroom flat and 6 two-bedroom flats with associated car parking, amenity space and amending the existing vehicular access, and it's recommended for approval. This shows you, outlined in red, is the site location. At the moment you can see that this grey here is the building that's on site, and it's right up to the boundaries, to the north and to the east, and partly also to the west. To the south here we've got 2-storey buildings with commercial at ground floor, with a nail salon, takeaway and an air gun specialist with flats above. Over here is a 2-storey hipped roof building with flats. This is also flats with a 2-storey hipped roof buildings, and to the rear here is a 3-storey mansard roof building, which is known as, it's a gated community now known as Howe Mews, and it was granted by this committee in 2019. And to the east here, this is Sainsbury's Local with its associate car park to the rear. So this is visually what the existing building looks like. As you can see, it's flat roofed and 2 stories right up to those boundaries. This is the view of the site from the high road with those commercial units and the flats. Yeah. Further up, Megson Way, which is where it fronts onto. It'll get access from Megson Way along with these flats here. And this is from the car park in Megson Way, looking towards the rear of the site. And I wasn't able to get access to that gated community that I mentioned at How Mews, but you can kind of just about see here that there is no boundaries apart from the existing building here. So this is the new building. It's no longer going to be on this building, on the boundary at the rear here, so there is a bit of isolation now, and it's not going to be the full length of this boundary here. So at ground floor level, there's going to be 7 car parking spaces with a bin store and cycle storage and access to a shared amenity space. This down here is the 1-bedroom flat I mentioned. Upstairs we've got 3 2-bedroom flats. The one at the south has a balcony. The one at the north has a balcony over here and over here. At second floor level, this is within the roof of the proposal, and there's another 3 2-bedroom flats. But this one has a balcony here and this one has a balcony here. And they're proposing on the roof all these solar panels that you can see here. So visually, this is what the development's going to look like. It's as I say, it's 3-storey with a mansard roof. It's got a white cream stucco render at ground floor level. Yellow stock brickwork at first floor, and then those dormers within the roof for those top floor flats. This is a street scene to compare between the existing and the proposed. So the existing 2-storey development is quite low. It's flat roof, and as you can see, it's right on the boundary there. The proposal there has got the bit of separation there, but it is taller. But it does show a bit of a transition between the 3-storey development to the north and the lower 2-storey to the south. And I don't know if you can quite see here that the ground does go down ever so slightly, which I think helps with the reduction in the height there. This just shows you the proposal in relation to that neighbouring development to the north, that How Mews, just to say that they've taken some of the design elements in terms of the material from that development. This shows you the tracking diagram to show you in terms of how they're going to access each of those car parking spaces, in case so that they can actually manoeuvre into the various different spaces. They're proposing, this is the kind of electric charging points that they're proposing, and they're now quite small, so they don't actually take up much space. So and all the spaces meet your standards in terms of sizing. The site is located within South Benfleet town centre, and this is the northern portion taken from the allegation plan from your adopted local plan. And the site is here, just here in the corner. It's up here in the corner, and this is that How Mews is in that one up here. Part of the application actually includes highway land. So the applicant has served notice on the Highways Authority, and the Highways just pointed out here where that highway land sits, because on some of the visualisations they have shown hedging, and the Highways Authority want to ensure that that hedging doesn't actually end up on their land and that access can be maintained. And then these are just a few additional photographs to show you of the site here. So your proposal here is to the rear of 316 to 320 High Road. It's a proposal for a 3-storey block of flats, for 7 flats, and the recommendation is approval. You will note on the late letter schedule, it was recommended for approval subject to the submission of a complete and enforceable unilateral agreement, so that a financial contribution can be provided in line with the Council's adopted recreational disturbance avoidance and mitigation strategy. The applicant has chosen to pay this contribution up front now. So condition 3 of your agenda which is, I think it's on page 20, recommended that the permission be read in conjunction with this unilateral, which is no longer needed or applicable, so therefore the recommendation is that that condition would be removed. You're welcome for questions now. Thank you.
Before I move the recommendation, do members have any questions for the planning officer about this planning application? Oh,
Jackie Thornton was first.
All right, Councillor Thornton.
Thank you. Yes, a few, actually it is on that picture. You mentioned about a drop in the height.
Yes.
Is that not going to cause any drainage issues? Is there, has there anything sort of been taken into account for the slope and it going against the building?
So this is how natural ground level is within Megson Way. So the proposal currently is completely hard surfaced, and the current proposal, because of the shared amenity space, is actually going to introduce some soft landscaped areas, and so it's considered that because of that it's unlikely to increase surface water runoff. Nevertheless, there is a recommended condition to ensure that the parking area is designed in accordance with sustainable drainage principles, and therefore I don't believe that it's going to result in any surface water runoff beyond the site.
Okay. And on the parking issue, we're back down to 1 for 1 again, as opposed to the actual recommendations. And that is because it's in an area where there is parking and transport available. But the parking that's available, bearing in mind you've got 2-bedroom flats, and that does quite often have 2 people sort of with individual cars there, and you've got visitor parking to take into account as well. That's paid parking. So are you expecting them to go to the paid parking to park for any overflow?
So you're right, the standards do state that it should be 1 parking space for 1-bedroom properties and 2 parking spaces for 2 or more bedroom properties. But your standards also allow for a reduction in those standards where it's deemed to be in a sustainable location with good access to services. So we've considered that this area to be in a situation where it's in a good location, sustainable location for access to services, and that's why we're happy with the 1-to-1 parking. The Highways Authority have also commented on the proposal, and they have also come to the same conclusion.
But the parking that is available to them off the site is paid parking, isn't it?
Yes. So
if they want to avoid that on a daily basis, is that not likely to cause overflow parking in the streets surrounding it?
It's unlikely. As I say, we don't feel as if we could sustain a reason for refusal on parking because of its location, of being a sustainable location, and therefore I don't think we will be able to prevent.
In previous applications where this has been applied, we've now got problems with overflow street parking. So that has sort of set a precedent that it does happen, and are we taking into account that it could happen here as well?
I mean, it is something that has been considered, but because it is a town centre, obviously there is that public car parks, so yeah, we would probably then be expecting any overflow to be within those public car parks and not within the streets.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Barton-Brown.
You have to bear with me, I've got a froggy throat today. On the plans there is solar panels on the drawings, but I believe those solar panels will only be put in if the funding allows and the build goes onto budget. They're not 100% guarantee. Could you confirm that, please?
Sorry, I was just trying to find the plan that showed the solar panels. Sorry about that. I mean, they proposed it on the plans, and we will grant permission on the basis that they will construct the development in accordance with these approved plans, and those solar panels are shown on the approved plans, so I would expect them to be provided. But they haven't said to me about whether, I haven't heard anything from the applicant about the fact that they would not provide them. based on finance.
And we obviously couldn't then enforce that that would have to be installed and should be installed because it is on the plan.
Generally, we could enforce because of that condition in terms of in accordance with the approved plans. If that's something that members are particularly concerned with, we could potentially have a separate condition to ensure that the solar panels are installed prior to occupation of the development, if that is something that members feel is appropriate.
Councillor Skip?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I just have one question. If you can go, we've got the site plan there. If you can show on the site plan where the bin storage area will be, please, and what type of bins will that be?
So I have measured the bin store and I have checked it against the bins that are normally required for this number of level of flats. And I'm just trying to find the right page in the report. So page 21 of the recommendation. It was so basically for this application, they do require 500 litre refuse and recycling bins and 240 litre food waste and glass bins. This has been checked with a document we have received from the refuse and recycling team at the council to check that it can fit the number of bins that they would require for this development.
And following on from that, I noticed in the report there's been no response from the street scene on this matter. Are we comfortable that the lorries can actually access site reasonably? I mean, obviously services the current problems anyway, so I guess that the answer to that is yes. But are we confident that they can service that site adequately?
Yes, I am confident because there's existing flats in Megson Way. So I know that therefore I know, and there's a turning area within Megson Way. So I believe, so I'm happy that refuge vehicles can approach the site, and that bin store is within 25 metres of that roadway, and that is the minimum, the maximum that they were prepared to walk to move the bins out.
Thank you.
Councillor Hart, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I was on the site visit and I asked the questions at the site visit. I was going to raise them again now to have them publicly aired, but they've been raised by other people, so my questions have already been answered. Thank you very much.
Councillor Aycock, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I also attended the site visit yesterday, and I understand that on the ground floor, past the garages, there's an amenity area. Are we aware of the developer putting any facilities within that amenity area? Just an example, if there's 2-bed flats upstairs, there are likely to be some children. Will there be anything like a swings or something no for them to do, or sandpit, or any facility whatsoever in that? Or is it just going to be a tarmac surface? I thank you, Chairman.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
There is no details of any play equipment proposed here. It's unusual to see that as part of a scheme for flats in this sort of size of development. As part of the conditions, we have asked them to submit a landscaping scheme, so we can ensure that this area will be grassed and not tarmac, so it would allow space for anyone who's occupant of the flats to use the space for their garden area.
Thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Thornton, please.
Yes, on the revised recommendation, do we know what the contribution is that's been calculated?
The calculation is set out. The calculation is set out in our adopted supplementary planning guidance, and it changes every year in the April in terms of, I think it's, and it's 127, is it 13? It's £127.30, and I know that the developer has paid the amount needed for the 7 flats, which was around 967, I believe.
And am I right in saying that it won't attract sill yet? We haven't reached the point where it will attract sill, and there's no affordable.
Yes, so SEAL, I believe, was out to consultation, which ended on Friday. So we have not adopted the SEAL yet, so unfortunately it's not SEAL liable at this stage. And because of the number of units, it's below the threshold for the need for affordable housing.
Councillor Mumford, please.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. On page 16, it says the southern elevation, however, would be visible from Megason Way and partially from the high road, and as originally submitted, presented a bland blank wall. Deeper in the site, fenestration is provided to the southern elevation, but this would not be as visible as the bland blank wall. I'm not quite sure what that means. It sounds pretty ghastly.
Yes, when it was originally submitted, this is the south elevation here. So this is a revision that I saw as part of the application. So when it was originally submitted, it was more this sort of blank wall to this southern bit. And that part, where you would be able to see from, if I can get back to the photographs, it will be visible from this perspective from High Road, which is why I was concerned about that elevation. So I went back to the applicant and got the amendments to get a bit more interest in there. So that's why they've introduced this stucco render at ground level, like on the front elevation, and they've put these kind of blind windows in, just to give it a bit more interest.
Thank you. And just one more. On amenity space, I think it's saying 154 square metres as opposed to a recommended 216 square metres. The question is, how does that sort of equate with other permissions that we've granted, and is it less than other permissions that we've historically granted, and if so, would we be setting an unfortunate precedent?
Thank you for the question. So with amenity space, you're right, it is below our standards in terms of our residential design guidance. But it does still provide quite a big area of a total of 154 square metres. So where you've got access to good quality open space, we normally accept a reduction in the amenity space, and in this location it's only 200 metres away from Richmond Park, which is why we allowed a bit of a reduction. And in comparison to other schemes, in terms of flatted developments of this type, it can be that there is a reduction in amenity space because of to be in a sustainable location, it's normally in a town centre location, which makes it difficult to then achieve your standards in terms of amenity space and also make the best efficient use of land. And that's why we often, in these sorts of locations, have a reduction in amenity space.
Thank you.
Councillor Anderson, please.
Thank you, Chairman. It's interesting to see that the solar panels are going in there. Could I ask a question? What type of heating is going into the flats? And the second question is the room space. Is the room space the equivalent national standards for each of the room spaces? Thank you.
In terms of the internal heating of the flats, I haven't been provided with that information, so I can't advise you on that side of things. It's not something that we routinely ask for applications at present, because we don't have any policies that specifically require that at this stage. In terms of the government's national space standards, I have compared all the rooms, and it is covered in the proposal in the report. I'm just trying to remember which section of the report. 16 and 17. It's pages 16 and 17 on the report. Generally, it complies with all of them, all of the standards. So just as a bit of background, the standards I've got a copy of them here. They tend to, the standards give you a minimum gross internal floor area for different residential dwellings and built-in storage, and minimum sizes for bedroom sizes. And it meets all the minimum gross internal floor sizes and all the storage. There's only 2 bedrooms in the whole of the development which are deficient, and that's set out on page 17, and one bedroom is 0.16, so 16 centimetres deficient, and one bedroom in terms of the width, and one bedroom is 0.8 metres in terms of the width. So in terms of the whole scheme, these are quite small deficiencies, and that's why I don't feel as if this is an objection to the scheme.
Are there any more questions from the committee? Okay. The planning officer's recommendation is for approval subject to the conditions set out in the report. For the purposes of debate...
And the revised recommendation to remove condition 3.
Sorry?
The planning officer's updated it, so condition 3 is...
Okay.
So it says the
yeah.
but with the removal of condition 3 as advised.
Yeah, for the purposes of debate, I move the recommendation. Who would like to speak first?
Councillor Skip.
Councillor Skip.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I mean, I'm reasonably comfortable with developing a site like this, because this is the type of site we need to develop to take pressure off of more valuable sites elsewhere within the borough. So for that, I'm quite supportive. I do have some issues over the lack of the parking though for this scheme. But I mean, as the highways have shown no objections, and because it says in the report this is in a sustainable location, I don't see there's any way I could raise objection on those grounds. So because of that, and because of the type of site it is, and we need to develop these type of sites, as I said, to favour the more these over the more valuable sites within the borough that are under pressure. I think I will be supporting this motion on this occasion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Thornton.
Yes, this is a brownfield site, and it's just the sort of site that we should be developing. And the MPPF says you do have to maximise your sites and what you can get in on them. Yet again, I'm uncomfortable with the parking, that we're going back down to the one-to-one, and it does seem to be the way we go now, and it does cause ongoing problems. And until sort of the officers recommend that we approve it, and that's not a problem, we're in a difficult position. And I think we do need as a whole to look at parking and how we do going forward. But in this instance, I don't think I can sort of refuse it on parking, because it has been recommended, but I'm uncomfortable with it.
Thank you very much, Councillor Thornton. Councillor Mumford.
Thank you, Chairman. I think the key little paragraph here for me is permission should be granted unless any adverse impacts of doing so will significantly and demonstrably outweigh the benefits when assessed against the policies in the MPPF taken as a whole. I think that's clear, and I think this fills that commitment, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mumford. Councillor Barker.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. It's a brownfield site. There's small properties, the kind of stuff we actually really want. I'm quite happy to support that. I would also echo my colleagues over there in terms of parking. A little bit concerned that we are kind of setting precedents, but as the officer has explained, its proximity to amenities locally would make that viable. Just one question. I mean, we've got some local businesses that are currently in there, and it was actually shown up to someone was saying about how much notice they would actually have to quit the existing buildings. I'm led to believe that they're only on a month's rolling contract. I know this is a side issue, but just conscious that we need to be supporting local businesses that are already in the existing premises for a transition. Is there any way, shape or form we could ask the developer to actually give them a little bit of, a little bit of slack? Is that outside of the remit?
This is outside of our.
It was it's a local business, and obviously they realise they're gonna move, but they're just worried about how much notice to find an alternative premises. It's a local Castle Point business.
Yeah.
to cover that?
You can try.
Yeah. I was concerned about how the units are currently used, and that was something that I approached the applicant about, and they came to me and said that they were on 1 month rolling contracts. So this was something I did consider about whether to give the occupiers greater notice, but I thought it'd be counterintuitive, seeing as they're already only on a month's notice. I didn't think it would be then appropriate and actually achieve what we'd want it to do.
Okay, just curious. Thanks for your answer.
Anybody else wish to speak on this? Okay, members, the motion before you is for approval. May I have a show of hands, please? Those for the motion.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's unanimous. 10-4. The motion, Chairman.
Right, so you don't want me to ask.
You can ask for refusals, there shouldn't be any.
No abstentions?
No abstentions.
No abstentions, right. The application is approved, or if the planning officer's recommendation invite. Oh, okay.
That's just if it was different.
Do I need to say anything about that? No. Okay. Following the conclusion of this item, that concludes the business for this meeting. Thank you very much for attending, and good night, and have a safe journey home.